If your summer garden feels like it's just barely hanging on, wilting in the heat, battling pests, or producing less than you had hoped, you're not alone. Growing summer vegetables can be tough, but I'm going to share 10 critical secrets that make the difference between a garden that just survives, barely, and a garden that truly thrives. Let's dig in. Welcome back to Homegrown, your backyard garden podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Rogers from OakHillHomestead.com, where I help gardeners grow healthy food no matter where you live. Every gardener dreams of having a thriving garden, one so full of fresh, homegrown vegetables that you can hardly keep up with the harvest. But when the summer heat kicks in, it can feel like you're just trying to keep your plants alive, let alone thriving. The truth is, growing summer vegetables successfully takes more than just putting seeds in the ground and hoping for the best. Some plants really struggle in the heat. Some stop producing altogether, and some seem to attract every pest in the neighborhood. But here's the good news. With a few simple adjustments, you can grow the kind of thriving garden you've been working toward. These are the same steps that I use to keep my summer vegetables producing, even when the weather isn't on my side. Before we dive in, I've put together a printable version of these 10 tips I'm sharing in this episode. It's perfect to print out and keep in your garden notebook, or stick it up in the garden shed for a quick reminder when you need it. You'll find the link in the show notes. Here's secret number 1. Grow the right plants for summer. One of the biggest secrets to a thriving garden is to choose the right plants. Not every vegetable can handle the heat. Cool season crops like lettuce, spinach, radishes, and even broccoli tend to bolt when the temperatures climb. Bolting means that the plant sends up a flower stalk and goes to seed. And once that happens, the flavor turns bitter and your harvest is basically done. So instead of fighting nature, let those cool season plants go and plan to replant them when the cooler weather returns in the fall. Summer is the time for heat-loving plants like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, green beans, okra, melons, sweet potatoes, and corn, and more. You'll still want to be sure to choose varieties that match your growing season. Check out your first fall frost date and make sure that you have enough time to bring your crops to harvest before the cold weather rolls back in. If you're in a short season area, look for varieties with fewer days to maturity. When you grow plants that belong in a summer garden, you're setting yourself up for success from the start. Secret number 2 is to give your plants some shade. Even heat-loving vegetables can get stressed when the temperatures soar. Tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers, they all suffer during a heat wave. Sometimes even those full-sun vegetables need some shade, and that's when shade cover for your garden becomes your best friend. A lightweight shade cloth, one that provides about 30 to 40% shade, can keep your plants from overheating and prevent sun scald on fruits like tomatoes and peppers. If a heat wave catches you off guard, you can get creative. Use an old sheet or lightweight fabric to block the sun temporarily. You can even plan ahead and plant taller crops on the west side to give shorter plants natural afternoon shade. I've done this with lettuce. By planting tomatoes on the west side, I was able to grow lettuce in their shade for quite a while. Of course, it eventually got too hot for the lettuce, but I was able to extend their growing season by quite a bit. And here is a situation where growing in containers is a benefit. You can move container plants to spots with morning sun and afternoon shade. Giving your plants a break from the hottest part of the day helps to keep them healthy, productive, and less stressed when summer temperatures really spike. Here's our third tip. If I could give you just one summer gardening tip, it's this one. Mulch, mulch, and mulch. The saying, mulch like your garden depends on it because it does, couldn't be more true. Mulch keeps your soil cooler during the hottest part of the day, holds the moisture in so the plants don't dry out as fast, helps prevent weeds, and it slowly breaks down to improve your soil. You can use straw, grass clippings, dried leaves, wood chips, or compost. Keep mulch a few inches away from the plant stems to prevent rot and pests. Mulching is honestly one of the easiest things you can do to help your garden survive the summer, and it'll save you time watering and weeding too. Number 4 is to water the right way. Watering seems simple, right? But knowing the best time to water your garden, how often to water your vegetables in the summer, and how much water your plants need can make all the difference. The best time to water is in the early morning. It gives plants a good drink before the heat sets in for the day, and it prevents moisture sitting on the leaves overnight. If morning isn't possible, late afternoon or early evening is the next best. Just try not to get the leaves wet. Most vegetable plants need about an inch of water a week, but in hot weather, they usually need more. Water deeply and less often to encourage roots to grow down deep, making your plants stronger. How often depends on your soil and your weather, but consistency is what matters most. Skipping several days and then soaking your plants can cause cracked tomatoes, bitter cucumbers, and vegetables that drop before they're ripe. Make sure you water the soil and not the leaves. Water on leaves causes fungal diseases. It can splash soil-borne pathogens onto your plants, and it wastes water. Plants absorb water best through their roots. So mulch well, water deeply, and if you can, use drip irrigation or soaker hoses to keep water where it belongs, at the roots. Containers and pots dry out fast, so you may need to water once or even twice daily in midsummer. Water by hand or use a watering wand, and mulch your containers too to slow down evaporation and keep the roots cool. Tip number 5 is that airflow is really important. Sunlight, water, and soil get most of the credit, but airflow is just as important. Dense, overgrown foliage traps the moisture, creating a perfect environment for fungal diseases and garden pests that can spread fast. So give your plants some space. Don't crowd them. Plant them as far apart as recommended. Prune thick canopies like tomatoes and squash to open airflow. Support climbing plants like cucumbers, beans, and tomatoes with cages or trellises to lift them up off the ground. Good airflow keeps plants cooler, drier, and less likely to develop diseases or attract pests. And that's our next secret. Stay ahead of the pests. Summer heat brings out those garden pests with a vengeance, and some of those pests can wipe out entire plants overnight if you're not careful. The key is to catch a problem early. Check your plants daily, under the leaves, along the stems, and near the soil. Hand-pick pests like squash bugs, hornworms, and cucumber beetles as soon as you see them. Wear gloves if you're squeamish about hand-picking bugs. You can use row covers early in the season to help keep flying pests like squash vine borers and cabbage moths off of your plants. Just remember to remove the covers once the blossoms appear so pollinators can do their work. Learn how to invite beneficial insects like ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps. They help keep pests in check. Not every bug is a bad bug. Also, rotating your crops yearly will prevent pest and disease buildup in your soil. In other words, don't grow beans in the same place every year. Here in Oklahoma, around late July or early August, a horde of blister beetles usually arrives in my garden. Black beetles that munch on the leaves of my tomato plants, and they leave welts on your skin if you touch them. I have a homemade spray recipe to fight them. I'll link to that recipe in the show notes for you. But it's easier to fight back if I can catch them early, before they become an infestation. The next secret is to fertilize your heavy feeding crops regularly. Some vegetables, like tomatoes, corn, squash, cucumbers, and peppers, need regular feeding to keep them thriving. If they don't get enough nutrients, you'll notice slow growth, fewer flowers, smaller fruit, or yellowing leaves. So feed them every 2 to 3 weeks with organic options like compost tea, fish emulsion, comfrey tea, which is easy to make at home if you have a comfrey plant in your garden, or a balanced organic fertilizer. Secret number 8 is to harvest often. Beans, cucumbers, zucchini, okra, summer squash, they all keep producing as long as you keep picking. If you leave vegetables on the plants too long, they'll get bitter or tough, and the plant thinks its job is done, so it stops making more. Check your garden regularly during the peak of summer for fresher, better tasting produce and a longer harvest season. Secret number 9 is to watch for signs of stress. Plants can't talk, but they do give you clues. Look for curling or wilting leaves, even if the soil is moist. Sunburned fruit with pale, leathery spots, yellowing leaves, or blossom end rot, which looks like brown or mushy spots on the bottoms of your vegetables. Sometimes these signs are caused by heat stress or uneven watering. Sometimes pests are the cause of wilting or yellowed leaves. Look for squash bugs hiding under the leaves, squash vine borers leaving sawdust-like piles on the stems, or tomato hornworms chewing leaves and leaving cube-shaped droppings. Look for these signs and step in before a small problem becomes a big one. And last, companion planting is one of my favorite ways to help my garden thrive naturally. Plants that repel pests, attract pollinators, and/or improve the growth of your vegetables. For example, tomatoes get along really well with basil, onions, carrots, lettuce, peppers, and beans. Onions like carrots, lettuce, beets, tomatoes, and strawberries. For more on companion planting, check out episode 19, Why You Should Grow Flowers in Your Vegetable Garden, to learn more. I have a bonus tip for you too. Taking a quick daily walk through your garden lets you pull the weed here and there, pick a ripe vegetable, and spot problems early. Some vegetables, like cucumbers, can go from almost ripe to the size of baseball bats faster than you think. People say that about zucchini, but in my garden, cucumbers grow way faster. Herbs need watching too. Pinch off those flower buds before they bloom and set seed to keep the leaves fresh and flavorful. Plus, it's good for you. A daily garden walk can reduce your stress and give you something to smile about. Let's recap these 10 secrets that will help you build a strong, productive garden this summer. And be sure to grab that printable copy of these tips to keep in your garden notebook or to hang up in your garden shed. Look for the link in the show notes. Here are the 10 ways to help your summer vegetable garden thrive. Choose heat-loving plants that are suited to your growing season. Give your plants some afternoon shade during extreme heat and sun with shade cloth, taller crops, or even an old sheet. Mulch like it matters because it does. Mulch helps your soil stay cool and moist. Water early, deeply, and consistently. Aim for the roots, not the leaves. Make airflow a priority. Give your plants space, prune them when needed, and support climbing crops. Catch pests early. Daily checks can stop a few bugs from becoming an infestation. Fertilize your heavy feeders regularly. Tomatoes, squash, peppers, and more, they need regular fertilizing to keep producing well. Use an organic product and repeat every 3 weeks or so. And harvest often. The more you pick, the more your plants will produce. Watch for signs of stress, like wilting, yellowing, or spots that can mean heat stress, pests, or watering issues. And use companion planting to naturally support the growth, attract pollinators, and deter pests. And don't forget your bonus tip, daily garden walks. They make a big difference, both for your plants and for your soul and your outlook on life. A thriving garden doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you show up, pay attention, and act on what you see. The tips I've shared today will help you build a strong, productive garden this summer, and I hope they give you the courage to keep going, even when the heat, the bugs, and the weeds try to slow you down. And remember, gardening isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each season teaches you something, and every little step you take adds up. Don't forget to grab your free printable with today's tips. It's linked for you in the show notes. Thank you for hanging out in the garden with me today. I'll see you here next time on Homegrown, your backyard garden podcast.